All right, so apparently I've been banned from another conversation here with a group that wasn't about politics. This is a local group for my Hawaiian district that I live in. Somebody brought up that Bernie is running in 2020. And I basically, I don't know if it shows it here. I think it's here, yeah. Oh no, it doesn't show it, and I bet you I can't see it. Yeah, they blocked me. So anyway, I said no, not Bernie again. We can't do Bernie because socialism doesn't work. I mean, socialism has caused hundreds of millions of deaths. Boy, I hope I can find it on my desktop. But anyway, someone said, no, you can't have you can't have capitalism. Socialism needs to help people. Blah blah blah. So I said, so as far as we need government to have roads, bridges, schools, library, and military, which is what she was saying, long before we had our incomes taxed, only in the last 105 years have we had an income tax. We still had all of those things. Socialism doesn't work. It has a 10 out of 10 failure rate. Voluntary societies have the best record for success. And then someone said, now apparently they blocked me because I can't see it. Oh no, this is what she said. I just quoted her again. She says, I'm much more concerned about the massive taxpayer giveaways to corporate welfare to the tune of 100 billion annually, according to the conservative Cato Institute. And I said, my reply is, not stealing someone's income that didn't belong to the government to begin with is not a loss. It's just less corruption. You can't, quote, give away, unquote, something that isn't yours to begin with. We need to go back to before 1913, before we had an income tax, when the country had virtually no national debt, a stronger workforce, and a stronger middle class. Income tax and the Federal Reserve have killed our middle class. This guy says, payment of our national debt. On January 1st, 1835, President Andrew Jackson paid off the entire national debt, the only time in the U.S. history that has been accomplished. I said, Rick Davis, and the U.S. debt was marginal and insignificant at the time that we got the IRS and the Federal Reserve Act. It was in the millions, not billions, and certainly not trillions. Rick Davis said both of those were designed for and by the wealthy, or by and for the wealthy. I said, I mean, look at the government shutdown. 800,000 non-essential government workers have been laid off. WTF is a non-essential government worker being hired in the first place? The government steals our money and spends it frivolously to oblivion. And I said, Woodrow Wilson was basically our first real, quote, unquote, socialist president, pushing the most ever progressive programs to date of his time than ever before in the United States. He passed both the Federal Reserve Act and the IRS Act. And then Rick says, essentially I think he meant our as in us, our air traffic controllers, LEOs, etc., and non-essentials are the aircraft safety inspectors, the NTSB, social services, and any help for the needy. They are all essential for daily life and safety. I said, Rick Davis, all of that can and should be privatized. Rick says, no, social service should never be privatized, nor law enforcement, nor the rest. And ATCs were privatized until they went on strike, and Reagan changed them to be non-private. Do you not learn from history? We have seen what privatizing prisons for profit has caused, and we don't need any more of that. I said, Rick Davis, if you believe that the government is any less corrupt than the private market, then you haven't paid attention to history. So, for example, there has not been any more murder by war or by individuals than by government. Democide, which is government killing their own people, is responsible for more death and murder than all wars in the history combined. And that's just tallying up the last 100 years of it. And if you pay attention, the democide that has been waged has killed hundreds of millions of people were all accomplished by Marxist, socialist, communist societies. What all of these societies have done is given government social safety umbrellas to their people, made them dependent on government. Then when times are tight and the government can't sustain the masses, they take guns away from their people and murder them. This is true of Mao, Pol Pot, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Lenin, and many others. Even Cuba. Look at the crimes against humanity that Che Guevara waged against blacks in Africa. Read his writing about how much he hated black ethnicities and how he murdered homosexuals in their communist revolution in Cuba. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety." So while I think government can temporarily provide these services to a greater extent than the private market can, the end result is unsustainability. And perhaps someday when our national debt gets called in by its debtors, they will pull off more democide to cure the problem. I am not willing to trade my liberty for security. And then I gave the numbers. Here are the numbers of the last 100 years or so from Marxist-type societies that have killed their own people. If it wasn't so consistent, it could be considered a fluke, but every society based primarily on Marxist ideology, which is Marxism, socialism, and communism, has resulted in democide. And mark my words, there is a silent majority in this country resisting this Marxist takeover. I am one of them that is no longer silent and will no longer tolerate this shit. And then Shannon says, the JPFO is noted for its extreme view on gun control legislation and has been criticized by... so she's just talking about the virtues of gun control, which is aside from the point. That's just a small fraction of the matter. Rick Davis says, Ryan Thompson, the silent majority woke last election and the Democrats are taking this country back. I find it strange how most people who believe this shit like you end up at the food pantry. Let's see. Shannon says, time to get out your dictionary. If you drove to work today on a public road, you must be a democratic socialist. 5 ways democratic socialism isn't what you think. Even before Bernie Sanders announced his candidacy, much attention has been focused to the fact he calls himself a democratic socialist. Socialist in American lexicon has a negative connotation. Blah, blah, blah. Democratic socialism is not Marxism. Yes, it is. It's not communism. Yes, it is. It is not a replacement for capitalism. Yes, it is. It is not the same as regular socialism. Yes, it is. It is not outside the Democratic Party. I don't care. Oh, and this was from the Huffington Post, of course. So I said, you know that Hitler was elected, right? You know why even during the war, Austria elected to have Germany annexed to Austria, right? It was because of the promise of social services. Hitler was a socialist with big promises, just like Bernie. And then I described what democratic socialism is. It's still socialism, and it still has the same implications. And then I replied to, what's his name, Rick or whatever, or Rich. He said, the silent majority woke last election, and the Democrats are taking the country back. I said, interesting, because there are 3 branches of government, and conservatives control 2.5 of them still. Shannon says, Hitler was a fascist, not a socialist or a democratic socialist. I said to her in response, Shannon Rudolph, first, Hitler was elected as a leader of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and the 1921 National Socialist 25-point plan looks almost identical to the demands of Bernie Sanders. And you do you not even know the history or the meaning of the word fascist? It is a leftist ideology invented by a philosopher named Giovanni Gentile, who had a very similar ideology to Bernie. Here is the history of fascism. Hitler was a fascist because socialism is fascist. And Hitler, a socialist, was elected by democratic means. Democratic plus socialist. And then Rick says, you need to go back to school and stop getting your stuff from the food pantry. And I said, just giving facts, you can deflect with insults, but I prefer facts and rational adult conversation. And it failed to post because apparently I've been banned here. So anyway, just wanted to document that. It was hilarious. Thanks for the conversation, peeps. I guess I won't be talking to you.